If you're just joining us, you're watching Topre Talk. We're live. So the Realforce 104UG, this is the high pro with the fancy high keycaps. This was on, yeah, you like that? I'm going to do that, don't you? You like that. This was on Massdrop not long ago, so I decided to check it out. So first off, thanks to Massdrop for getting these things in. They're going to be doing them again soon. So if you're someone who's into Topre, just keep an eye out, right? All right, let's get down to business and talk about exactly what this is and just try to figure out why the hell everybody's going so crazy over Topre and its crazy price tag. The first thing we need to clear up is what is Topre. Well, after I tell you the model number, this is the Realforce Topre 104UG High Pro. Exact model number YK2100 right there on the back. Topre is something a bit different. It is a mechanical switch, and it's mainly made, in my opinion, for typists, but there are several different varieties. This one has the same keyboard layout as their 104U, and the main difference is that the keys are like high profile and extremely contoured. They're like really contoured. In fact, they're almost concave. You could basically set a marble on these keys and it wouldn't go anywhere because each one of them is what's the actual word they use? It's they are cupped. Yes, they're cupped for your fingers, and that's going to help you avoid, I guess, messing up and hitting the wrong key. And if you're someone who does not type correctly, it's going to probably drive you crazy because it's going to force you to use the correct fingers. If you're like moving your hands around in ways that you shouldn't be doing, like I sometimes do, you're going to hit the edges of these keys and they're going to be like ridges, and it's going to be like sort of frustrating. If you're a typist and you know how to use a keyboard, you're going to love typing on these. So let's talk about the actual Topre technology first. It's a mechanical key switch that uses a rubber dome and a spring. Now this keyboard in particular has a uniform 45 grams all the way across. So every key requires about 45 grams of pressure, and it's about 4 millimeters all the way down to the bottom. It's about standard. 45 grams, if you're someone who's familiar with cherry, that's about what...
5 grams less than blue.
Yeah, 5 grams less than blue. It's about what cherry makes browns and that sort of thing. If you're someone who uses greens, then this is going to feel really, really soft. If you're someone who uses buckling springs, those are somewhere between 60 and 70, so this is going to feel soft as well. Now, why does everybody go crazy about this? What is it exactly? Well, if you're a typist, the rubber dome hits the spring, and then the spring hits the PCB, and it makes this kind of this pop. It's like this really interesting feel. Like when you're typing it, it's almost like, to me, like being a drummer, it feels like the feedback you get when you hit a tight snare drum. In fact, right here is an audio sample to let you know exactly what this sounds like. And just for reference, this is the sound of my voice. So as you can see there, it's more of a muted sound, but it still gives you this, similar feedback and similar. Really, just the word that comes to my mind is it's like an interesting pop you get from the rubber dome and the spring compared to like a buckling spring. Not nearly as hard, but a similar typing experience, I suppose. One thing I do want to note here is on the front of the keys, there's no bumps for your index fingers. Normally when you're sitting down at a computer, there's a bump to let you know when you're home, when your hand is in the home position. So that'll take a little bit of getting used to. I found it was pretty easy just to put my finger on enter and just slide over and be like, okay, now my fingers are in the home position, so everything's good. One other thing I want to note is that the contour of these keys is not uniform throughout. It is different depending on the position. For instance, the number keys on top are a lot taller than like your middle row here and your bottom row. Spacebar is also very satisfying. It's a USB cable, not PS2, unfortunately. I wish they would have included a PS2 adapter for the price you're paying. I feel like you should have gotten a PS2 adapter, but for most people, especially if you're a typist, that's not a big deal at all. The cable is 1.5 meters, and it's just a standard cable, no braiding or anything fancy like that. Also, we have a hook and loop strap right here. There you go. It says the Realforce right there on it, so you can just wrap it up and take it with you, or wrap up the excess, that sort of thing. This is a pretty heavy keyboard. The weight is 1.4 kilograms. The dimensions are 456 millimeters wide by 169 millimeters deep by 39 millimeters high. Let's go ahead and take this thing apart and see what's going on underneath the hood. Now this comes apart really, really easily. There's just a few spots in the back where you can use your fingernail to press and just pop. It just basically pops apart right here. It's really, really easy to open up. And then once you're inside, we see that there's a large PCB, and not much going on. There's no like crazy LEDs other than the num lock, caps lock, and scroll lock buttons. That's the only really LEDs there are in this. And there's some lights up in the corner for that. And really, it's just a large piece of metal right on top of the PCB, and the large piece of metal has all the keys and all the mechanical switches are right there. So just really sturdy and simple. I like things that are sturdy and simple. It's just tough as hell. I'm not sure if this is as tough as like an IBM Model M. We may need to do like a throw down the stair test. Is that scientific? I don't know. Between the two of them, sure. Let's take a look at the back. Now we have a spot here where you can route your cable. You can route it out the right or the left side here. There's grooves for both, so you can switch it over. That goes in right there in the center. And then we have two really large feet that can be extended. And once you extend that, it gives you a pretty nice arc on your desk. Now this already is somewhat arced because of this bump here on the back. So it's not a keyboard that lays completely flat. And on the bottom here, we do have two small rubber feet. They're really small. But that's going to help it, in case it moves around. So, is Topre for you? Well, if you're a gamer, this might not be the perfect keyboard for you. I guess unless you really like to keep your hands in like the perfect spots and you don't move around a lot and you don't slip and hit the wrong keys. But if you're someone who's constantly moving around and your layout is different than like a normal typist layout, if you're I don't know, if you're playing an MMO or something and you're all over the place and your hands are crossing and doing all kinds of weird things, it may be somewhat weird, mainly because of the shape of the keys. As far as the force feedback and the actual switches themselves, they really have to be tested. I guess the actuation bump feels a little bit more satisfying than like Cherry MX Brown to me. But if you're used to like clicky keys, like the buckling springs or the Cherry MX Blues or Greens, this may not be enough for some of you guys out there. It may be a little bit too soft. So a lot of this is going to be up to you. If you're someone who types, it's probably a good way to go. Someone who games, maybe not, depending upon your preference. For me, I'm actually going to wait a little while. Cooler Master has some of these coming out with these switches. I think they're calling them, I forgot what they're calling them. I don't remember, but they're going to have some of these keyboards coming out pretty soon, and they're going to be compatible with Cherry MX keycaps. So I think for gaming, I'm going to prefer those keycaps. And also, you can also try the standard 104U. So lots of different options here. But yeah, Topre is it's a thing, man.
Hey, you guys. Old man.
This is my pleasant business face. Let's do some business together. Me and you. I got an oil field you can mine. People go crazy over... Oh, I should look at this. I keep looking at that. No, don't look at that. Look at that.